Here we go. Hi everyone, Bethany Sweet Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new The Comet is Coming album, Hyperdimensional Expansion Beam. This is the latest and third full-length LP from UK-based jazz, electro, fusion outfit The Comet is Coming. Some of you may remember a few years ago when Danalog, Betamax, and King Shabaka Hutchings came together under this name and released Trust in the Life Force of the Deep Mystery, one of the best and most forward-thinking jazz albums of that year, not just musically but also aesthetically in how the trio pulled together elements of jazz and also electronic music and rock into a sometimes reverby and psychedelic soup, which is part of what makes the trio so unique on the jazz circuit these days. And with this new LP, they are seemingly leaning into that harder than ever, with obviously the title of this album, also the titles of these songs, Code, Frequency of Feeling Expansion, Atomic Wave Dance. Also, what is this album cover? Is this the schematic for the God Particle? Is it a Death Star blueprint? Is it a map to some alien galaxy far, far away? Either way, it's pretty clear the band is trying to get in touch with something otherworldly and maybe futuristic on this one. And while I wouldn't say the end result necessarily sounds like it's from another time or dimension, it comes pretty damn close. Like on the opening track, which features this tight combination of pounding drums, sequence synthesizers, and Shabaka's horns riding on top, with all of these sax phrasings that have a very stark staccato pop. It's fire, it's fun, it's groovy. There's a similar combination of sounds coming together on the track Pyramids too, but there's almost an EDM flavor to this one with the driving kicks and Shabaka's horns sounding like a police siren whooping over the top of the instrumental. But the one major issue holding it back is that some of those sax lines do feel distractingly out of sync with the rhythm section, which is also the case in some really obvious pockets on the song The Hammer too. If only that could have been tightened up, I think those tracks would have gone over so much better. But still, the way the band is able to play with off-kilter grooves on the song Technicolor, for example, is amazing, especially during some of the reverb-drenched and psychedelic crescendos around the midsection of the track and the end. The intense jam on this cut is really only a tribute to the trio's fantastic chemistry. There are a few mild slow burners on the LP as well. The performances on these tracks are a bit more explorative. There is Lucid Dreamer, which I could pretty much take or leave. Then Frequency of Feeling Expansion that I mentioned earlier, whose instrumental palette and pacing sounds like something off of the first two Portico quartet records, and not in a bad way, especially since the performance on this one is cooking with a bit more gas toward the end of it. Then there's Angel of Darkness, which is an amazing moment on this project, one that I wish there were maybe other tracks that kind of mirrored its vibe, its aesthetic, its energy. Really, in my opinion, it's the first time on the album that feels like I've truly blasted off into space. I've entered another world. The slow and intense build of this track is amazing. It feels and sounds larger than life. This is truly some insane, meditative, spiritual jazz shit, some Sun Ra shit, but with the intention of soundtracking a very ominous moment in like the Lost in Space reboot. I think the song Aftermath hangs in a similar space aesthetically, but as far as the performance goes, it's much more chill from end to end. The hypnotic beats and rustic woodwinds, as well as sci-fi synths, make me feel like I'm sitting in the middle of some AI-generated tribal drum circle. Then Atomic Wave Dance turns up the heat once more on the back end of this LP, in a way that feels kind of familiar with these percussive sax riffs and hypnotic beats, as well as just thunderous synth bass notes. Honestly, in terms of pacing and vibe, this feels a lot like something off of one of the recent Sons of Comet records, which is obviously another band that Shabaka Hutchings is involved with. But imagine the rhythmic approach being slightly different, and instead of tubas, yeah, you're just getting like giant fat crushing synthesizers. And not complaining, as it's kind of a slightly different approach to something that I already love, which is also kind of the case for the song Mystic, whose synths on the intro are bubbling away like an old school computer from the 1960s, like it's really busy making the most important calculation ever. And on the whole, this track feels like a huge nod to the futuristic jazz fusion of a record like Herbie Hancock's Sextent. But The Comet is Coming's very fiery performance to follow after the first leg of the track really just kind of, you know, make it their own thing. But I will say, I feel like they cut the track off a bit prematurely. Like it does reach at a high intensity point at the end, but I feel like it could have been pushed even further from here for another minute or so. But yeah, that's this record in a nutshell. A great combination of groove, electronics, of jazz improvisation that scratches a range of vibes and itches and emotional intensities. I may not enjoy it quite as much as the band's last record, but I can appreciate that they pushed things a little further on the electronic side aesthetically this time around, and I still do think a majority of the tracks on this thing are fire. In total, this is another W on the board for The Comet Is Coming for sure, and here's to hoping there's more to come. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, The Comet Is Coming forever.